Michael, you specialize in leadership communication training. I
hmm
personally have benefited from your mentorship and your coaching for presenting, for speaking, and then also how I carry myself in the workplace.
hmm
And I know that you've worked with many of my colleagues in the past as well. Today, I'd like to talk to you about finance and communication, especially for finance leaders.
hmm
So there's three things I want to talk about: inspiration, simpler messages, and
mm
answering tough questions.
mm
So, the first question: the business relies on finance leaders to help them understand their financial performance.
hmm
So, we help them understand where they are, where they're going, and where they need to get to. Now,
mm
numbers can be quite a dry topic, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but historically, accountants are not known to be inspiring speakers or leaders. So, how can we communicate messages in a more inspiring way?
Sure. Thanks, Peter, for having me. Thanks for the feedback. I've enjoyed working with you. Let me give you three areas to be more inspiring. I'll talk about facial expression, I'll talk about cadence of voice, and I'll talk about body language. So let's go to facial expression. Do you know, Peter, a person is first known by their facial expression? Just a split-second glance of a person's face tells us their gender, race, age, mood, and direction of attention. So there's a lot of information going. So on first entry to any meeting interaction, make sure you do this. Radiate warmth and acceptance and calm enthusiasm through your facial expression. When we radiate warmth and acceptance, conversations just seem to flow. When you enter a room with a level of calm and a level of enthusiasm, you attract people toward you. And a good way to practice this is always imagine greeting a good friend. Now, everybody's not your good friend. If I was just coming into the room and I was a good friend, your face might lighten up. Subtle but powerful.
Mm.
Now, as far as cadence and inspiring through cadence, predictability is one of the biggest turnoffs of speakers. You know, the monotone voice that nothing doesn't vary in pitch and tone. So here's an antidote for the monotone voice, and it's in the form of a metaphor. I want you to think of your listeners as sailors on the open seas, and your voice is the wind. If your voice is predictable, like a predictable wind, like this, what do the sailors do? They set their sails and go to sleep. But if your voice is unpredictable, like an unpredictable wind,
Mm.
your listeners have to keep alert to your message. And the things you can vary, as you would know with speaking, is pitch, loudness, emotion. So be the unpredictable wind with your voice. Third one is just body language and posture. What I would suggest you do, again, very simple, Peter. A lot of these techniques, which I didn't say before, may seem too basic to be effective. They're very powerful when well executed. Also, adapt these techniques, don't adopt them, and practice any new technique in a safe interactions. Sorry for that segue. So with posture, this is a suggestion what you should do. Imagine your neck is long at the back. Imagine there's a string coming out of your head and a puppeteer is pulling it to the ceiling. If you have a table, imagine your arms on the table uncrossed. When you gesture, gesture in a measured way with firm fingers and firm hands held for a second or two. So you might say, this is what you need to focus on that's going to give us the biggest impact. So let me sum up, Peter. That's an idea in facial expression, the cadence be the unpredictable wind, and posture and body language.
I like the suggestion about radiating warmth when we enter a meeting. I think in the workplace it doesn't happen often, but when it does happen, it really makes a difference, I think, to the environment of the meeting for sure.
Yeah, and first impressions matter. I mean, this research by Nalini Ambady, 2 seconds to a long-term impression, and it's by just facial expression.
Excellent. Michael, the other question that I have is that I personally can get lost in the detail. So we
Mhm.
numbers as finance leaders, and it's difficult sometimes to take ourselves out of the detail and bring
Mm,
it up to a higher level. So how can I become great at delivering simple messages?
mm. Yeah, this is what I suggest. And let me start by saying verbosity is the biggest negative I see in communication. Saying too much, uh, and not having a clear message. So again, this is a simple but very practical technique to identify what is your key message or messages that you want the audience to retain and or act upon. So imagine I'm your boss, Peter, and you're just about to go into a presentation, and I say, Peter, here's your instructions. You only have one sentence to say in this presentation. And you say, Michael, that's unreasonable. I have more to say, but I say that's the rules. So you go out and you come up and think, if I only had one sentence, what would it be? You come back to me, it's clear. Then I say, Peter, the rules have changed. Now you have two sentences to say. So you go away and you think, what was the second most important sentence that I would say that I want the audience to remember? Come back, it's clear. Then I say, Peter, the rules have changed once again. You now have three sentences. So you go away, you come back, tell me the sentence, it's clear. And then we repeat this process through 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sentences. And then I say, Peter, throw away 4 through 10. So that's how you get your key message. Simple. If you only had 3 sentences to say, what would it be? And say those early. So very deceptively simple, but deceptively powerful. As Colin Powell, Secretary of State in the USC, said, great leaders are almost always great simplifiers who can cut through argument, debate, and doubt and offer a solution everybody can understand. So that 1 through 10 elimination process can help you be a great simplifier.
Okay, thanks, Michael. And the last question I had for you, I don't know if you've ever done a presentation, open the floor up to Q&A, then you get that one question which stumps you.
Yeah.
You don't have the immediate answer. So I'm not sure, what tips would you give people who are in that situation where they don't know what the immediate answer is?
Yeah. Yeah, let me answer that question this way. Firstly, I would never bluff with answering a question. But here's a process that I use to go through to find an answer potentially, but also have a fallback position if you don't have an answer. So what I tell, this is the process to you. When someone's asking you a question, make sure you're nodding your head, which is just a nod of engagement, that you're engaged. Sometimes when you're being asked a question, we freeze our head and we're focusing so much on the question, but you want to encourage the questioner and also encourage yourself to be able to answer it. So you start with that, always do that. Then if it's a tough question or you're not sure the answer, just say, that's a tough question. That's a challenging one. And then you'd say something like, give me a moment to think about that. So you give yourself 3 or 4 seconds to think about it. So look thoughtful. Just trust yourself because something may bubble up. And then you come back with, if you have an idea, you'd say, top of mind, Peter, or on first thought, I'd say this. When you preface your answer with those phrases, it's not definitive. But the fallback position is this. Peter, I don't have a definite view on that. I will get that information to you if you believe you can find it and get it to it. But when you say you don't know something, Peter, say it with certainty and energy. Don't say it apologetically like, oh, sorry, I don't have that. You can't know everything. And don't put that restriction on yourself. So that's what I'd say for difficult questions and questions you don't have a response to.
Yeah, I like that you said it's okay not to know. Definitive about not knowing as well and not being apologetic, because you're right, we don't know everything. I mean, it's impossible to know everything.
Yeah. And the great leaders, Obama, Clinton's, they're not afraid to say they don't know. And that's actually a mark of certainty. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I must have an answer. I must have it. Well, that can be actually a mark of lack of seniority. It's okay to say you don't know. You can't know everything.
So, Michael, before we go, any resources which you'd recommend for finance leaders?
Definitely. There is a book by Stanford University professor Chip Heath. It's called Make Numbers Count. So it's designed for finance people to make their numbers more understandable to lay audiences. And they give a number of examples and practical ways to do that. So again, Make Numbers Count by Chip Heath, Heath.
Michael, if people want to work with you, what's the best way that they can get in touch?
Yeah, my website is probably the best. It's michaelkelly.com.au. All one word, Michael Kelly. Happy to talk with people if I think I can champion, they think I can champion their leadership communication.
I definitely feel more confident after doing your coaching for a number of months. And it's been great speaking with you today.
Yeah, great. And you're also very good looking, Peter, so that's a benefit.
Now you're lying. Okay.